back to the this for those that are not listening, the thing that I don't really like about my AVR and this all this immersive stuff, storytelling BS. The the matrix for the overhead surround. They call it up mixer, but it's not an up mixer. It's just another way of calling a matrix decoder something else, so that people don't say, "Oh, it's a matrix decoder." There's nothing wrong with matrix decoders. It's just that I don't like it when it's marketed as complete bullshit, unbelievable bullshit. It's okay when there's a native, legitimate overhead mix, so thing. But it's just like, so like, oh, use the overhead, if it's not a native mix, and you can use this. But the Dolby DSU's on. I'm not sure if anyone's listening, so I'll just turn up the fader a little bit so you can hear the crosstalk, so to speak. Because DDS have their, like say, they got their version. Aura 3D have got their version, and Aura 3D is absolute awful. The dialogue leakage out on the overhead is just like cringeworthy. Anyway, so what do you want to listen to first, hey? How about some real bad crosstalk, hey? I'll get down to how each one's slightly not necessarily better, because they're all doing more or less the same thing. They're all taking sound away from front, left, and right. Whereas in the mix in war games here, the surrounds they come on active mildly during the opening with the storm. Very subtle sound in the surrounds, in the surround channels. So let's go to the. So I've got him enable the. Now here a relay clicking on the AVR.
Target selection complete. Time on target sequence complete. Yield selection complete. Begin countdown. T-minus 60. Alright, let's do it. Insert launch key.
Now, the screen channel on this mix, is legit. It's typical with some film mixes sometimes during, what approach they want to use or such, I guess. You get a kind of like foggy sound of dialogue on left and right. It is all discrete, mind you. This mix is common, this type of style. You'd hear it on other movies like maybe Star Trek 2, Ransom, Cocoon, Apollo 13. I could keep on going. Other movies that were mixed before the Dolby era, during 50s and 60s and such, that have directional dialogue and effects panning and such across the screen channels, namely 5 screens sometimes, 70mm, and then some 3 screen, or sometimes they're 4-track mag. And then of course 6-track mag, 70mm. So with the dialogue kind of like being on left and right a little bit, kind of the decoder's looking at the signal, and it really gets confused with Aura. It really can't make it out much of disguising it, so to speak, by anti-phasing it very cleverly, so that you don't notice it. Literally by anti-phasing it out, so to speak. So I'll just play it again. You can have another earwig.
Launch key inserted. Roger. On my mark. Rotate launch key to set.
I'll back it up.
Delta Lima. I have a valid message. Stand by to authenticate.
I'm going to go switch everything back, because by switching on that BS auro crap, which I don't like, it's too bad. I think I should go back to the drawing board, but it's a dead format now, so I don't think it'll be coming back any soon. Sounds like an echo chamber. It's really annoying. It's disappointing, really is disappointing. So I'm just going to switch that back to there. I'm going to configure it back to there. And I heard a relay clicking. Of course, there's nothing yet presently playing. So I've got to play a movie, a little bit, few seconds. I'll back it up. Switch in DSU. The Dolby DSU is not that good. I don't think Dolby Labs are listening very well these days, you know. Poor buggers. Especially when he stand by to copy message. And stand by to copy message, and then as he's grabbing or sounds that are on screen over the screen channels, left, right, or the LCR, or just the left, right in this case, I can hear a kind of. It's because the logic circuit is trying to stabilize and keep, all this, to kind of fake everything. But most people wouldn't notice the difference if they got all this. If you got like the screen channels playing, because it won't be anything on the surrounds until the surround channels actually engage, when turn launch key to to start, and then the music starts, the score starts. Go over to DDSX neural. I hear little sounds struggling, but it's now the fader level I got up. I doubt the camera's going to pick it. The phone's going to pick it up. The camera phone's going to pick it up. But I still just hear the squawk on the squawk box. The alarm sound on the squawk box. Skybird. This is Dropkick. Break. But have a listen until when the score starts, and everything is going pretty wide out on the stereo on the screen channels, but occasionally still a few other sounds within the they could be half pans or such. Certain sounds tried to struggle to get through, but not very well. And the DDSX neural does a kind of okay. I just don't think it's really necessary to have it on the overhead, but I'll get to that. I can just about hear his dialogue saying yield selection complete, and just hear it. It's like little. Okay, the score's going to cut in, so I'm just going to turn the fader down a little bit. mark. Just as he turns the key, I can hear T minus 60. That's just crosstalk. That's just on the screen channel, one of the screen channels. Okay, nice bit of bass there on the overheads, on the JBLs. I'll go to Dolby DSU. The music score doesn't cut through very well. It's kind of woofy. It really sounds knackered. Because if you were to get probably say I got lots of decoders. If you were to connect say this movie to an AVR, that's just connect it to the to the left right input, so to speak, output from the player, and just connect it to the left and right input. And just only connect 2 speakers up, or 4 speakers, only connect, so you can switch them on and off. Connect 4 speakers up only to the side surround and the back surround only, and sort of go through the surround, the side surround and the back surround one at a time, and listen to see if you can think, I think one of these outputs is sort of connected to this upmixing DSU sort of thing, and it must be this one here, because it's got similar characteristics in the way it's trying to play back the sound through its matrix decoder, its Dolby matrix, which could be a PL, it could be a PL2X, could be a PL2Z decoder. It's one of those. It wouldn't be anything earlier than, like Dolby Surround Prologic thing. It wouldn't be anything, because that only handled or only did like mono matrix surround decently for, say if you want to play 424 matrix movies. So doubtful it's even Prologic 2. Because then that would only be the side surround, where you get a fake stereo. If you put a 424 matrix movie into it, you get a fake stereo sound. And if you're playing 5.1, if it's got a mono discrete surround, it won't fake it into stereo surround. Okay, it only adds that fake only if a 424 matrix signal is going into it. So if it's a 5.1 discrete, it ain't going to do anything. Dolby PL2X will add an extension to the surround. It would put any sound that's got a phantom signal, middle phantom signal, and take that from the surrounds up here and push it back towards the back surround. If there's wide stereo and lots of layers of tracks that are all overlaying, then you get a good utilizing sound of the side surrounds, the back ones here and the side surrounds, and sounds pan round nicely, and it accompanies the 5.1 decently, I would say. But for 424 matrix, again, it's pretty crap, because it's only adding fake stereo surround, and that's not how Star Wars sounded in 1978 at the local. Um, so DDSX or DDS, they got their own surround formats. They've been doing it as well for many years, and there's been other companies as well, like what do you call it? Circle Surround. I think that was Smart. I think it was Smart or Circle Surround Smart Incorporated. I think it was Smart Incorporated, and they had their version. They did occasionally put some of it on some AVRs, which I've got an AVR that's got it as well, and it had a specific characteristics in its the way it's trying to put some anti-phasing in to minimize certain sounds from drifting out of the I guess the sound field, okay, to make it simpler. Circle Surround is not much around anymore, I don't think. So I had one AVR that had it. It called it Circle Surround 5.1, but it wasn't really, because there was really no point one there. It didn't add a bass extension effect. It more or less just did. You only add a bass extension if you're using you set your channels to your speakers to small, or small meaning, you got a crossover put on there and it's diverting any low frequency for a certain frequency crossover range and just dumps it into the LF, into the sub bass channel, which in my personal opinion is a bad idea, because you got no way to then control the level of the bass in the LCRS, because if you've got too much bass in the surround, it's going to be up here. Any bass sounds happening in the center channel are going to be way down here. So what happens? You get audio frequency masking, and it ain't going to happen. So you've got to have independent level controls, which they never really implemented on any AVR, where you can adjust the balance of that low frequencies of LCRS and a level balance them customly, customize them, so to speak, for most movies. But then most home cinema owners are pretty lazy about how they're going to do their big show for their guests and all that, and showing it off in the basement. Sorry, but that's the truth, and the truth hurts, I guess. Being an ex-projectionist, perfectionist, I would do rehearsal, and I got a little bit more, having done a little crack course, I suppose, at how audio mixing and such early. Oh gosh, that's bloody 20 years ago. It only seems like a few seconds ago, literally milliseconds ago, actually, nanoseconds. So I've had I know how tracks are laid out and how you assemble and how you mix and pan and put effects on individual track layers, and try to create some sort of gimmicky effect, and balancing the levels. And then of course everything was done on headphones, so it was a bit awkward because we're all students as such in a room, so we can't play it over loudspeakers as much as we want to. Sometimes you can go into another room, you can take your whatever it is you're doing on, and you can take it into another room and mix it over loudspeakers. But otherwise, it's usually use headphones just to have a monitor, and then you go back to your loudspeakers, and then back to your just check on the monitors on the headphones, but you don't usually mix with headphones. Of course, keeping 85 dB or just a little less on headphones, so you're not over, you're not going to wreck your ears. And everyone had different headphones, as if I remember rightly. I had closed headphones that fit on your, ears nicely. But everyone had all things that stick in your ears and all sorts of different ones, and they're all going to have different frequency characteristics and such. And so go back to the other one. And another thing about the why you hear it stereo, right, is because when you think about it, those matrix decoders, the side surround, the back surround, they do it stereo, right? So that's why you hear the overheads above. Stereo only, side to side, no forward, middle, or back. None of that. Which is a bit disappointing. It's easy to work it out if you know how with a matrix decoder, and once you know how to work it out with a matrix decoder, you can add on your own version and make it way better than theirs, because they're only pushing their opinion, and you got like three opinions. Auro is rubbish. Dolby DSU, in my opinion, rubbish. The DDS Neuro X seems like a winner, but I'm not endorsing any of these, because I think when you got everything else playing on the side surrounds, the rear back, if you're playing a 5.1 discrete, you got this sound that's happening overhead, and that sound happening overhead really realistically belongs up front. I was thinking I could configure my system, because I could do just about anything I can just possibly can with my system. I was thinking of making another special wiring format to send or take the output. So just another lead, so I won't have to change things around. All I have to do is do a switch and divert it over to my left center, right center channels. So it'll go over there and go over there, and it'll engage at a certain point during the movie, and will sound effectively, yeah. And it would be up front sort of thing. But here's another thing. Many years ago, I was listening to Forrest Gump, and I'm thinking, everyone talks about it, blah blah blah, bass LFE, boom boom boom, and but the surrounds on it, discrete or stereo surrounds on it in the Dolby Digital discrete, were pretty rubbish. Pretty rubbish mix, I would say. It's not all that good. It's just a mediocre movie. Christ's sake, overrated. You know, I think I was reading somewhere. Some people say they hear more better sound with it in Pro Logic than with Dolby Digital, because most of where he's talking about rain and all that, and it comes in at diagonal, and it's coming down this way and comes up at this way. And he's going on about this. He's ranting about rain for about 3 minutes in the movie, and yet all that sound is happening across the screen channels. Not a diddly bit happening in the surrounds, and they're thinking, bloody hell, this is the most weirdest rain I've ever heard. That's just up on the screen channels. But you think back to days when mono mixes were more accustomed. That's what we would hear mostly. And all the sound is dialogue, effects, music. It's all up in the centre, up in the mono, behind the screen. But I thought, when switching between Dolby Pro Logic and this would be on the DVD, I think, because I had the Laserdisc Pro Logic, because it was only for PAL Laserdisc. The NTSC would be AC free. So I was thinking, something got me thinking, really, sort of like, well, I know when you go to Dolby Pro Logic, it's all around, and the sound is active from start to finish on a movie. Okay, you can put certain things in place to make those monomatrix surround sound idle at certain points. If you know how the discrete mix works and think, you could put a box in the rack and have the outputs going from the surrounds into it and put like a signal gate. So once it comes up to a certain threshold level, goes over the certain threshold level on where the signal gating is placed, kind of a bit like a squelch on a CB radio. When the signal comes up, it breaks through, but you turn the squelch up so you knock out all the hash, and then if a signal is high enough, then the background it would break through and was sound. Yeah, I've tinkered with that idea, but it's very technical to get it spot on and to make it really work well. Anyway, that's another thing. So I thought, how can I make the surrounds active on the Dolby Digital, whilst also when the Dolby Digital stereo surrounds engage? This was pretty easy. So all I did was put the mono matrix surround into an audio mixer, took the left and right channel from the decoder. Anyway, hang on, that's not how it goes. Firstly, I put an additional matrix decoder connected to the left and right channel. Okay, because I want to take a signal off of that. Okay, and then it would get anti-phased, and then you hear the music, effects, any center signal dialogue or whatever. Well, it won't really be heard because that's totally isolated in discrete digital, if I remember. That's totally discrete, so it won't leak. If you go to Pro Logic, yes, you get occasional, you hear a little bit of dialogue over the left, over to the left and right and such. If it's really badly out of phase and such, then it leaks out really loud, as well as into the surrounds matrix as well. So I put a matrix decoder on left and right, and then I output the surround signal into an audio mixer. Not that audio mixer, but let's just say an audio mixer like that. So I put one line in, and then I'll take the stereo surrounds from the decoder, which would be out from the main decoder, right? And I'll plug those in, and then set the pan pots accordingly. And I'll set a pan pot for, these are just gain levels actually. These are the pan pots here. So I would set the pan pot left, pan pot right, and for the center for monomatrix signal, I'll keep it centralized so that any signal coming in will go equal to left and right of the surrounds. And then I'll balance the levels, so I'll make it not too obnoxious, so it doesn't sound like a giveaway. But I kept the film fully active right from start to end, and it sounded way better than the original. It was kind of like Forrest Gump. Run, surround Forrest on steroids. Try doing that, okay? But now I've told you how to do it. It's easy, simple. So just put a matrix decoder on the front, left and right, and even though the signal itself really does belong up front, Because when mixing, and all you do is you're folding sound down on top of, to make it so if it plays back stereo, everything's folded, hidden away, and it's like an Easter egg, and you have to unwrap it. And then it's like the Russian doll, and you take this bit out and that bit out. Oh, look, blimey, there's more here, there's more, and then all that is the sound out, and then you can just fold it all back in, put it all back into one. There it is. And then you just got to need a decoder to unwrap it all. I think I did that sort of thing for this, way before even Dolby Atmos came around. Oh gosh, years ago. And it worked out pretty well. I could connect that back up again. I just have to put some rack space, which I've just got barely there, for another one of these. Put that in the rack there, and then connect it to, I wouldn't connect it onto these left and right. I'd have to connect it to the input or the output signal coming from the AVR. I'd have to connect it to there, or connect it to the system, rather more or less I think connect it onto the system there, system out, because if I want to use my CP200, it'd still be functional. And then I would just take the surround output, and then I'll have to there's several ways of doing it. I could do it the awkward way, which would be just connecting the wires to the so they go hardwired, so to speak, which I really wouldn't like doing, because I'd prefer to have it going, so I can mix the channels on top of the other surround channels, and do it the same way as I did it originally, because it worked. There wasn't really anything right or wrong with it. It worked. But it's it's finding a very slim audio mixer, and I got absolute no rack space left there. I put anything else in there, and I don't want to put anything in this rack space down there, because I want to keep a bit of a gap between that CP500 and the CP200. That's why I've got the power supply located a little bit further down away from it, so to minimise any sort of hum pickup or anything. So I could do a thing going through one of these. I could do a switching network going through one of these for the surround configuration, which, like, this one's to do my overheads. So it's only on A at the moment, because I haven't made up the other lead for input B, C and D. I haven't made the leads up yet. I'll get around to that. The cables are down there and everything. I just haven't done it yet. It's been weeks now, or if not a month. I just haven't found anything to motivate myself, because I know it's going to sound absolute knock the socks off. It will put Trinov in the dust, because the Trinov can only do so many things, and I've read the manual on the Trinov so many times over, and once would have been enough. It's just like reading the manual for that, or a new Denon, a number AX4 or A, or what the fucking thing is. It's what, 15? Is it 15 or 16.4? I don't know. Seems like a waste of bloody time, if you ask me. Bloody waste of listening time. Doesn't bring anything new to the table. The more things overhead surround, the more the overhead surround the same. It's just more of the bloody same bullshit. You know, a lot of people twig onto these things, and they know when bullshit is about, and they know when to avoid it. They just avoid it, period. I kind of suckered into it, but I caught on pretty quick, and I knew it was bullshit. I knew it was flawed. Anyway, I think I'll just go back to this neural. Yeah, so one more listen. It's been a bit of a rant, this. Just put this on it. There are little rustles I'm making against the microphones. Rotate the launch key. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, go back to DDS, which, yeah, its version of a matrix decoder seems to be. I'm not sure which one. You know, it could be from any of the other generation of DDS decoders, surround matrix decoders, because they got discrete, obviously DTS, and then they got matrix ones. You know, because they want to kind of copy, so to speak. I don't think even the professional one had a kind of, because if DTS were to fail, it reverts over to Dolby Stereo SR soundtrack, because SR was then superseded Dolby A type noise reduction, or professional Dolby A type. Sounds like my overheads are really engaged. I'll just go back a little bit more. I'm going to switch them off. Go to.
All right, let's do it. Insert launch key. Stand by.
That's the right channel.
Launch key inserted.
That's the
Roger.
left channel on.
On my mark. Rotate launch key to.
Put the center channel in, and it nothing's drifting. You know, it's nicely anchored, and everything's in phase, polarity.
Yield selection complete.
Begin countdown. T-minus 60.
All right, let's do it. Insert launch key. Stand by.
Mute the center.
Launch key inserted. Roger. On my mark.
So you more or less hear that with Aura 3D. Not the same loudness, of course, but a little bit less. But the crosstalk is just, it's just awful. You know, you think there was something wrong with the Aura 3D, but no, there isn't. It is just technically flawed. I thought they would have known that when they design it and thinking, we can't put this on the market. Listen to that crosstalk.
Launch key to set. 3.
I'm just going to monitor the right channel, see what's going on there.
1. Mark.
T-minus 50.
Yeah, I heard T minus.
1. Mark.
T-minus 50.
Oh, T minus 50. Okay, let's go to stage left.
Launch key to set. 3, 2, 1. Mark.
T-minus 50.
Okay, I hear it there as well. So it's Phantom. Let's go to center stage.
Mark.
T-minus 50.
Mark.
T-minus 50.
Mark.
T-minus 50.
Alright, I thought it would have been discreet, but no. They're kind of putting it a little bit foggy, sort of thing. On stage left and right.
T-minus.
Mark.
T-minus 50.
Go to stage left, stage right.
1, mark.
T minus 50.
Let's have a listen to other sounds there.
Mark.
T minus 50.
Again.
Mark.
T minus 50.
Yeah, here's some high frequency sounds in the background. Go to stage left.
Mark.
T minus 50.
Yeah, because I can hear more or less where it's saying T minus 50. It's kind of phantomed on left and right, stage left, right, as well as discrete in the center as well, at a slightly different mix level. Put them all on. Wow, all that bass. And of course, you hear the bass.
Launch key inserted. Roger. On my mark. Rotate launch key to set. 3, 2, 1. Mark.
T minus 50. T minus.
Mute the center.
Mark.
T minus 50.
Still hear some good bass there on the stage left, right. Mute them. And switch that back on. And I could just hear some of the dialogue trying to struggle to get through there, because I could just hear, play it again and see if you can hear it on, or I'll see if I can hear it on the playback. Then I know if I can hear it, then you can hear it. You can just about hear the dialogue just struggling to get through there. Personally, if I was doing a matrix decodering sort of thing, if I had enough rack space, I would have to select an AVR, and they got to be free. They got to be three of them. I've got quite a few of them. I did try something. I was gonna hope it was gonna work, but I was noticing some strange anomaly with some sort of echo delay going on, and I was thinking, that's weird. Why am I hearing an echo delay? And thinking, all my delays, I don't have any of this time delay bullshit turned on for your bloody left, right, center, and I don't do any of that bullshit. Because you can't just add delay. You got to do it with pink noise. You got to observe the frequency response and see what's going on with it. Because if you just add it and think, oh yeah, that's good, you could subtract certain bass in the frequency range. But say if you use center channel and the surrounds, and you got them all playing at the same time, and you're adding delay on the center, and you can see what's going on with the it's doing all this shit. It's going all over the bloody place. But it's got to be done with a microphone and RTA, and then you got to then go over to your left and over to your right, do them one by one, and then you can see what's going on, and then add, and then play the LCRS and then play the LCR along with the surround all at the same time, and look at it again, observe it. Otherwise, it's, electronically, everything adds up. Electronically, when you put it on the RTA, electronically, everything adds up smoothly. But once it goes airborne into a room, it's all over the bloody place. And you can just only make it worse, or you can make it better, but it doesn't happen like that. takes days, if not days, to get it spot on. You can't use auto EQ. Auto EQ is a load of bullshit. It's only auto EQ is for lazy people. You want to do it right, you got to do it manual. No if, no but, no debate, no vote. You got to do it manually, and that takes days. And you may not even achieve it spot on. You may get it in near, and that's good enough. You ain't going to get any more better than that, I'm afraid to say. There are other ways that you can check into it, but they're a little bit more technical, and most people wouldn't have the equipment or the setup to check it. So you've got to have all the test gear. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It only has to be cheap, affordable, as long as it's test gear and it's there, and you can, and you know what to, and you think you're savvy minded, and then you know how to get it all set up and aligned. But if I was going to do a bloody matrix thing, I'd have a matrix decoder for the left, center, or the left, on the left and right, one for the surrounds, one for the rear backs, to do all this cockamamie, bloody overhead, bloody bullshit. Bloody, I was projecting in a cinema back in 1989 that used experimental overhead. Christ's sake. And half the public, not even the public today even know about it. It was never publicised. It was experimental, you know. People come in, they see a movie. Those are the ones that don't really give a shit. They go back to their lifestyle of hobby and whatever. And you get the enthusiasts that come along. They really like it. They like cinema itself. And you get the other ones that come in and they like the sound and the projection image and quality. They like that sort of thing. Other people just want a story. Of course, the other people want a story as well, of course, myself included. Not this woke rubbish that they keep forcing. Disney forcing it down our throat with Kathleen Kennedy's bullshit agenda. Yeah, and an overhead surround goes back even further. Bloody hell! The local cinema downtown, the Gaumont. Had Cinerama in Screen 1. You know, I was only that size then. You know, I was told I couldn't go to cinema now, could I? I was too young, but I understand it. You know, and it had overhead surround. So you got 5 screen going behind the screen. They had overhead surround speakers, fitted flush, very high up in the ceiling, very high up. And it immersed. And when Cinerama was phased out, early 1970, around 1970, Dolby, 35mm was replaced. And when Star Wars opened in Dolby Stereo in 2 screens. And the upstairs one with the curved screen, so they'll just use the left, center, right of the screen channels, the scope. It would only be cinema scope, because it won't widen it out unless they had a special lens or such, or they can make it a little bit larger, so to speak, you know, because they were only using a proportion of the CinemaScope screen, because the tabs, the curtains, they only opened out so far, and they would open out a little bit more wider, and then of course Cinerama would be projected a little bit larger in height because of the 70mm format. Anyway, yeah, I heard it there first day. I heard that Star Destroyer, but didn't really care for it that much. I wasn't into sound then. But then I saw the Star Wars again in screen number 2. That utilised a left half, right half surround, kind of like this is how it is in my room. Goes around left half, right half, for a special decoder down there. That's the only one that makes it easy. You can't do it with anything else. There's no other way around it, unless you do wiring and maybe a simple speaker switcher box you could do it with. But you got to remember to switch certain things off if you're going to play 7.1. If I want to play 7.1, I've got to switch out of that mode there over to there. So this is where you got to, you got to be a projectionist. You got to be like, you got to know what to look for, what to listen for, what to feel for. You got to think. Also, the yeah, if I was going to make some adjustments to, make overheads, my own version, because I can make it way better than these versions. I'd also be going a little bit further than, not just overhead, but also below surround. A little bit more further. I like the way, now, sound like wind and such, overhead sort of thing. But, if I heard a car panning and then going into the overhead, then I know it's a, like Twister, like on Twister, that turbine media bullshit, Dolby Atmos bullshit. I can hear what the Matrix. It's like they did that thing in a day or so. They just passed it through something. There was no actual remixing going on there. It's cheap because I can hear certain things like on-screen sounds and such. I hear a truck moving along, and I think, why is it going along the overhead? That makes no sense. It's up there when the truck is down here, and it's up there while it's also panning around, and it's like a bloody holy bloody mess. Oh, never buy old movies that are going to have Dolby Atmos on it, because it's likely it's never been remixed from start, using the original stem tracks, the original tracks, to create it brand new off the bat. Also, sometimes native ones are a load of rubbish, and don't listen to too many of these people on bloody YouTube that say, "Oh, this is great. This is thumbs up. It's rocking." Don't listen to those sort of people, because I think they got their hand somewhere out in the and they're taking a little bit of cash on the side. Oh, if your channel does very well on this, we'll send you a $10 in check. For Christ's sake. I'm not going to point any names out. I think you can probably guess. I like to, but I just ain't going to point. I'm not going to. But those people are probably, if they watch my video, they're probably thinking, I think he's talking about me. Because one person did say, "Oh yeah, Twister, yeah, that's great, yeah." Two people said it was great, and it was bullshit. They were bullshitting. I can't believe, can't stand that sort of. I can tell if you go against their beliefs of Dolby Atmos and all this stuff, they'll probably kick you off the channel or block you or whatever. Well, I've got my little violin here playing. Can you hear it? I pity you. I really do. Because, yeah. So just don't listen to these bloody shysters on bloody YouTube. Listen to the ones like myself and others that, are trying to blow the whistle and just say, hey, save your money, for God's sake. I don't really care, personally, if you waste your money. I really don't care. But I'm just saying how it is, If you're going to do a legit mix, from an old movie, it would take months, probably more longer than the original mixing time for when it was done decades ago, because you're talking about creating an artistic, having it utilized all the time, which I believe is how it should be, with maybe some modification, I think. So they know that certain decoders or on the market will do this and that. So just let me check the phone thing here. Yeah, it's okay. I'm okay. I'm a little bit over my bloody running time again. You want to just fade that down. You want to check. You got to do a mix, so you create. You want below surround as well. You want bloody below surround, for crying out loud. All this bloody from this level here and then up there and then back down. I've heard all that, for Christ's sake. I've heard that when I was at fucking UCI in 1989. Oh. I can't. I'm just going to point out things like, all right, spare change, all right? You I don't know, you just. You think your Trinov and all that's all great just because you're a little bit rich and everyone else with your bloody Trinovs, and oh dear. Most of you haven't got, I think most of you haven't got even the bloody IQ of a bloody fly. I think flies have got better IQ, for Christ's sake. Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. Really pisses me off, fucking woke people BSing and then you got this other channel as well. I'm just going to say it, for Christ's sake. You got this bright side channel. Yeah, I said it. Don't give a fuck. He was the one, the bright side guy, he said, yeah, Twister, great, yeah, rocking. It's a load of crap. He wouldn't know a decent bloody overhead surround mix if it fell on top of him. You got to have the channels all active all the time, but discreetly. Anyone that's got gravity that utilizes height 1, height 2, height 3 effective from start to end credits. If some movies, you can mix anti-phasing into, but you need a decoder because you'd hear it in the signal, but they can pan that sound below, or rather, they'll be got to have a same setup with a matrix decoders on those overheads surround outputs on the decoder. They got to have additional decoders, and then of course, I've done a video where I had used I'll do it again. So I go into multi-stereo channel mode. Just turn down the fader. Turn on the pink noise. Turn the fader up. Let's go into the overheads. All of them, height 1, 2 and 3. I'll open up additional REM. So I've got 2 sound generators side by side. And I'm going to invert the phase on one of them, which is down in the lower corner. You'll see invert second second output. Let's turn it on first. If you listen, that's my below surround matrix. That's I've got two types of it. So if I turn that one off there and invert, now the sound is literally just hear it on the below surrounds on the little JBL Control 1 speakers. So the sound is going down below, all the pink noise. Now it's going back overhead, and of course, turn the other one on, you hear the sound level going up 3 dB more. I'll invert the sound on the other one. I can go over here, turn the level down a little bit. Or go back over here and turn it up a little bit. Hang on. Down. Turn that one up or down. I can hear certain channels in the system going up and down, up and down, up and down. And it sounds very disorientating. It almost makes me dizzy. So, fucking hell, I'm muting it, turning that off. Oh, fucking hell. See how easy that was to do? Even though that really wasn't that easy to do. That was really technical tech. You just got to know how a matrix decoder works. You could do the same with a matrix decoder and have pink noise going across, whoops, the phone fell over, all the other channels, and then oh, where's the phone? Is it upside down? Careful. I'm over an hour again, bloody hell. So yeah, you get the idea. Yeah, simple. Most people, they bought this, what do you call it, this demo disc, sort of Atmos disc, to set up your pink noise, you do your sine wave, or whatever it's got on it, These two guys, they made a kind of first world DDS, Atmos demo disc, whatever it's called. You could do it with REM and just use them, and simply use this mode on your AVR. Crikey, I've been using it for years now. Just use that, because it sends out, it duplicates the same signal and sends it out. And all you have to do is, you just got to have a system where you can mute channels and turn them off, or if you have to, turn it down on the amplifier. On the outboard amplifiers that are running separate amplifiers, you can't really do it all through an AVR, unless you've got speaker switcher boxes and you're turning things, you're turning that speaker off, and just have that one on, and then, but then my overhead surrounds go way beyond the normal Atmos encode, or Atmos. If you want to call it Atmos, I call it overhead surround, for Christ's sake, and I call mine below surround, That's what they were back in the day. They were overhead surround, Or might have had another name, but I use 9 of them overhead. I think I saw this home theatre at the moment. It's big, it's huge, Oh, yeah. I'm not least bit jealous. I've worked in cinemas that even the small auditoriums are larger than the one I've seen, and yet it's got, oh my goodness, it's got echo in the room, and at the very front of the room, it's where the microphone, or whatever I don't know where it's placed, it might be microphoned up, on the you put the little clip things on there, but seeing in the video where they're standing, it's got a heck of a boomy, reverberant sound right at the very front. And think, oh my goodness, it's going to sound awful, that. And yeah, I can easily. Oh yeah, I've got the room dimensions. Oh, 30 feet long, 20 feet or 26 feet wide, and 16 feet high. Bloody hell. Even bloody UCI Tower Park, in its day, with its over with its over, had a ceiling higher than that. And what? Oh, 250, 300 seats, I think, for screens 5 and 6, and the smaller auditoriums were smaller. Screens 1 from 4 to 7 to 10. And then working at Warner Brothers, lastly, large auditoriums, four screens that were main large auditoriums, and then 4 medium size, and then 4 small size that had vertical bloody masking that no one even liked. Yeah, weird. Bloody hell, those screens were bigger than this room, but they didn't have boomy reverberant right at the very front of the room. Oh, and certainly not distracting things on the walls where it's like, what the bloody hell is this room, huh? Yeah, I like those movies, but I wouldn't make my room, say, like a Star Trek or Batman or Star Wars theme. I wouldn't do that. I want it to be neutral. So it's like, oh, blimey, if it's Star Trek, Batman, oh, so I must play Batman movies all the time. Yeah, occasionally play Star Trek movies, but I wouldn't make my room a Star Trek theme room. No way, absolutely not. I want to design it different the way it is, and that's going to, probably cost, I don't know, £500 maybe, for raw cheap materials, and then it's getting someone to say, hey, can you build this for me, please, and I'll pay you for your time. Fair's fair. And then that could be done, and then once all that's done, it would have absorbent put onto it, very thin absorbent, I'm thinking, so to cut down any sort of slap pinging echo sound, but it's a difficult thing. Otherwise, there's other ways to think of it, to make things, to put aesthetics on the wall and have something behind it that's absorbent, and puts a thin layer of something on the front of it, have it coloured, and have shapes cut out and lighting and such, and give it this aesthetic look. That's all easy and can be done cheap. Don't have to cost thousands, unless you go to someone and they're going to say, oh yeah, it's going to cost this, and you say yes to it, when realistically all you're paying for is their labour, which is fair. But if you thought about it and thought, I could do this, but I'm not very good at doing it, but I have to learn, but I think I could do it, and I'll be able to do it, well, it'll be my labour, or your labour, of time putting it together, and you wouldn't have to spend anything more on it. The only thing is, it's going to take you much longer to put it together. When you get someone, or they come in, and they'll have it done within a few weeks, where it's going to take you months. That's the trade-off, and they got more experience because they've only done it so many times, whereas you've only done it once, or I would only done it once. But I keep doing it, then I get more experience. It's like flying a plane. You don't have any hours in it first time, and you just keep learning and learning and get more hours. Because they say, how many hours have you had in this plane? 9 o'clock. Was it clear and present danger? So you get more experience with, This is a bloody awful long video. I don't know why I do them. Anyway, so I named a few names and like, you know, I just like honesty. That's all I like. I just like honesty, for Christ's sake. You know, it's like, yeah. The only thing I don't like about my bloody setup is my bloody shadow on the bloody. I didn't realise that, but I should have thought that bloody hell. Put a light in front of it, or behind it rather. It's going to put a blooming shade on the screen. But that's not a big deal because if I wanted to change everything, that's not a problem. You know, angle the light of the projector, angle it down a little bit, lower the screen down a little bit, not too much, but thought maybe reposition these height 1 at the front, 1, 2 and 3, reposition them. Oh, where do you reposition? But that's how I got it set up, and a little bit in front of the screen is more or less how I saw it at the Empire Leicester Square. And think, interesting. And hearing Captain Kirk, this is Captain Kirk, Chris Pine, I'm an imposter, I'm playing Captain Kirk, and I suck. You know, hear his voice in the movie panning around on the overhead like you got PA speakers in the ceilings of the Enterprise and such. Instantly, it reminded me of UCI at Tower Park. Thinking, I've heard this before. It was the first time listening to Dolby Atmos, and that was only 2013. And I just wanted to listen to it to see what its potential, what it can do. And I listened to it twice that day. So I listened to it first time, front row and centre at the Empire, and then second show, middle circle. So first time I was in A row, and then the second one, double A row, right in the middle centre. And just to get 2 points of perspective of the sound field in the large premier-sized auditorium. I heard certain sounds that are panned or fixed in specific positions along the sidewall surrounds because they got a thing called a panner through. I thought that was pretty neat. And I was looking over and thinking, I think it's roughly between those two JBLs over there, because it really did sort of stick out like pointing. It's over there. But the overheads were a little bit laid back at most of the time. Unless it's playing things that really stick out like a sore thumb. And that's more or less how it sounds in here. I hear it's only better than the Empire because I've got 9. I've got sound where it can go across that way, it can diagonal that way, it can go literally right down the middle if it wants to. And that's usually a center phantom signal, so the mono signal, or it could be piggybacked onto stereo, and so it could do quite a bit without having to sort of think, I'm listening to. It sounds like listening to stereo. Sometimes I also like listening to stereo multi-mode with music, and I would just turn off all the other channels and just listen to it on the overheads. It sounds pretty decent. Of course, the below surrounds would be active as well, matrix monoed signal going out. But if I change those decoders in the kitchen, the SA10s, and change them over to say a PL2X decoders, it would do a matrix below stereo sort of effect. That would be a game change. And it's a little bit more than that, because I could also do things like I think the surrounds here should be a little bit lower down to get a sense of sound from here down to there, and then from back up to there up to the ceiling, because then you get a better. But there'll be still something missing. Yeah, so might as well just keep those there and then put another set in round here and another set down here. It's not really possible here because the equipment's in the way. It is what it is, isn't it? I hate that word. Put another speaker there, another JBL, but it's not really there. Otherwise, it sticks out up to about here, and bloody hell, look at that. I can barely walk between this. I'm just about to get the vacuum cleaner in down here. And this is a small, really tight space. Very tiny, very tiny. But I could make sounds if I want to. Take sounds from the regular surrounds and have it going through a matrix decoder and just make an effect out of it. So the signal can go from the usual surrounds and then go upward a little bit. And then the overhead surrounds, where if they got anything discrete going and playing with it, and then the sound will pan up. I could blend it into or matrix it into, and that would have to go through some audio mixers and such. Very complex sort of setup, very complex. Make a Trinov look like a child's toy. I'm sorry to say, but once you know the basics on how these things work, that's it. The cat's out the bag. Anyway, that's it.